Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to Tan Tennis channel. And today I'm going to review one of the top selling strings in the market, especially for Babolat users, and this is the RPM Blast. You know, this string is a very popular string both on the tour level and on recreational level. You can see that a lot of people around you use it, and some pros who use it that you may know include Rafael Nadal, who just retired, Carlos Alcaraz, who used to use it, but later he switched to the RPM team, which I will review that later. I believe that the majority of people may have perception of RPM Blast as a spin string because it's a string that Nadal and Alcaraz used in his career. But I would say, in my opinion, it's not very specialized in spin, but I will get into the detail later, so make sure you watch to the end of the video. So in this video, I will break down the performance of RPM Blast into 3 stages. The early stage, which is the first hour, the middle stage, which is around like 5 to 6 hours after that, and the late stage, which is from 8 hours onward. I have messing around with the RPM Blast for months now, mainly on 2 rackets, which is the Pure Aero 2023 and this Pure Aero Alpha. But actually, in my experience, I have played with RPM Blast on many more rackets, but I just think that it feels the best on Babolat rackets like the Pure Aero and the Pure Drive. Not so much on the Pure Strike though. Okay, before we get into the court, don't forget to like this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure to do that. Okay, first impression, I would say this string is phenomenal. I know why a lot of people use it. It has a great feel on the firm and hollow rackets that doesn't have much of a dampening tech like a Babolat, because the string is very muted. So if you put this on some other rackets like the Blade or E-Zone, I think it will not feel as good as on the Pure Aero for sure. The RPM Blast offers a very good pocketing feel. It's like the ball just sits on the string bed and then it explodes the ball out with a lot of pace. And what I like the most is the sound it provides at contact. It's probably the loudest noise any strings can make. So you can see that I can play with very good pace here if I choose to drive the ball forward. And I can also go with higher margin topspin shot, which is also good, but I feel like the ball loses quite a lot of pace if I do that. On the comfort, I would say the string is quite soft in the first hour. It's very comfortable, probably because I didn't go high tension on this one. I strung it at 48 pounds. I think I can go higher than that, probably like 50, 52, no problem, because it's not stiff at all. But I wouldn't recommend you guys to go too high because in the late stage it can be a problem. On the spin potential, I think the RPM Blast gives you good spin, but it's not to the level of a spin specialized string. I think it's just give me a little bit better spin on than the round strings in general. It's still far from something like Reed String Zero or like Toro Line or even a Hyper G. I think those strings give a better grasp on the ball in my opinion, and it put better RPM and shape on the ball than the RPM Blast. So I think RPM Blast plays like a round string more than shape string in my opinion. That might sound weird to you guys, but that's just my experience playing with this string. After the first hour, I think one thing that is very noticeable is a drastic drop in tension. On the second and the third hour, I can feel that the string is not as magical as on the first hour anymore. It loses tension very quick and it drops a lot. So, as you may have expected, the string lost control on the ball, but it's still acceptable though. It becomes softer and launchy, and the snapback is not the same anymore. So the string is more unpredictable, I would say, on topspin shots. Whether the string will snap the ball with topspin or it will slip. I forgot to mention one thing. So the RPM Blast is a black poly string with oil coated on the outside. So if you string it yourself like I do, you can feel the oil grease on your finger. And I think this is the reason why it has a very good snapback in the first hours. But after active hitting, that oil will wear out and the string will lose the ability to snap back, and you can see it on the string bed. Like when it's fresh, the string is very shiny, but it will lose that shiny the more you hit because the oil runs out. So basically the string is still all good, but the playability drops. Like you need to control your own power a little bit more because the string doesn't control the power for you anymore. Not as good as on the first hour. So if you swing full and trust it 100% like you did on the first hour, you can find yourself hitting long more often. And one thing that is a downside is backhand slice. So on the early stage, I find my backhand slice very solid and predictable. The ball stays low, it goes with a lot of backspin and side spin, and it goes deep. It's reliable and feel good. But now it becomes launchy and the ball floats out way more. But on the upside though, I think it's on the comfort because in the middle stage, the string is still very comfy. It's a little bit even softer than the early stage because the tension drops. So I would say in this middle stage, from the second hour until the 7th hour, plus or minus, depends on how hard you hit and how active you are. If you play doubles, it could be more than that, but if you play like aggressively on a single, it can be shorter than this. But between this middle stage, the string is still very playable, but it's just not as good as on the early stage. Lastly, on the late stage, so for me, from the 8 hours onward, which is when the string locks up because the oil coated on the string already wear out completely. For some people, big hitters, aggressive baseliner, or someone who hit big, it can be way shorter than that, probably from the 5th hour or 6 hours. So the string doesn't move as much anymore, and it shows its true self, which is a devil. The playability is still quite there, but the string becomes very stiff because it doesn't move. And I think this is why a lot of people got some arm issues from this string. Especially on the Babolat rackets that are stiff and hollow, it can send all the vibration to your arms without dampening it. I feel like if you hit on the center or a little bit below the sweet spot, I mean on the sweet spot it's still okay because it still have that pocketing feel. But when you hit a little bit below, it's still quite soft because that's not the point where you normally make contact. So it's still fresh. You still have some oil on it. But on the sweet spot up to the hoop, I think it's not okay because that's where you hit on the serve or on the return when you return a big serve from the opponent and you didn't make a clean contact with the ball. Well, it becomes dead stiff and jarring. This is probably the most important thing to be aware of, especially people who string it high from the first place because in the early stage it's very soft like a soft poly that has a lot of power, so you think hey yeah you can go a little bit higher, but if you keep playing with it until late stage there is a good percentage that it will end up hurting you. So, in summary, I would say that you just need to know what you're dealing with here. In early stage, RPM Blast is very addictive, it's fantastic, but that playability doesn't last long, and it comes with a huge downside on a late stage. So, you need to observe the response of the string and know that when it starts to be stiff, just stop playing with it and restring it because it can lead to serious injuries if you are unlucky. So, who this string is for? Well, I think it can be played by intermediate to advanced level. I wouldn't recommend it to beginners because although I believe they can play with it, I don't think that they will know when it should be restring. and they probably not on YouTube watching tennis content like you guys do. So just save you the trouble. If you have beginner friends, just don't recommend this to beginners, because if they don't change it on time, it will end up hurting them. So I think the Amping Blast feels the best on the Babolat rackets, or any racket that has a lot of feel and not dampened, because the string is probably the most muted string that I have ever tried. So if you put it on something like a thin beam control frame with foam feel, it you cannot like get that feel of the contact, and it's not a good connection with the ball. And this is all for today. Leave the comments below if you like or dislike this string and what you want me to do next. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.